Do you fall into the category of people who make purchases or big decisions based on your emotions? Well, according to Indeed, emotional selling is a sales management strategy which is based on a customer's emotional experience. It may refer to the feelings they have to purchase either a product or a service. Or it may relate to convincing a consumer to purchase a product or a service because it'll make them feel a certain way emotionally. Dustin Bogle is a sales and fitness expert who helps people harvest more sales from their leads by using his fortune follow-up system. He says that it's important to change the conversation about sales and make it more of a human emotional experience for both the salesperson and the person you're attempting to sell to, because he says that sales is a relationship business. Bogle was also once 60 pounds overweight and struggled with his own body image issues, and now he wants to help others shift their mindset when it comes to fitness, because he believes that a healthier world means a more productive society. In particular, Bogle is interested in helping moms recommit to taking care of themselves and making fitness a priority. He owns gyms in both Texas and California, and he believes that the gym industry is making a comeback. He joined me this week to talk about his career in fitness, business, and as a pro wrestler. He even has a book coming out this upcoming Friday, which he was eager to tell me all about when he joined me to have a deeper conversation about prioritizing fitness, making sales more of a people process, and a bit on how he views the world at large. It was a wide-ranging conversation which covered a lot of important topics. So, without further delay, I'm Kevin McShann, and let's have this conversation. Dustin, if you're ready, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program, my friend, and I'm super excited to be with you this afternoon to talk about business, fitness, gym ownership, and everything in between. Great to see you this afternoon, and happy Monday, my friend.
Yes, thank you. I'm excited, my man. Thank you, Kevin. Let's do this when you are ready, man.
Absolutely. So, Dustin, I know you're a fitness guy at heart, so tell me, why do you think people should really prioritize their fitness, and why do you think prioritizing fitness is a good thing for everyone to do?
Yeah, this is a great question, Kevin. And my whole life's work is about fitness, and it started with me. I was an overweight teenager. I was in high school, and I was tipping the scales at about 260. So I wasn't far off from 300 pounds. And I was very introverted. I didn't really feel a whole lot of confidence. And so one day a friend invited me to the gym, and we went in and we did a standard meat head workout, chest and biceps. And the pump that I got in muscles immediately made me just feel so good. I was like, oh my God, what have I been missing out on? And so I immediately just thought to myself, wow, I want to continue to do this daily and see how my body transforms. And I stuck to it. And 6 months later, I lost almost 60 pounds of fat. And so I went from 260 to 200. And at that moment, when I stepped on the scale and I saw that transformation, I said, I want to give this gift to other people. This is amazing. I would look at the mirror and be like, oh my God, like I love how I look. I love how I feel. I started saying things nicer to myself with my self-talk instead of, you're so fat. You got to get your act together. Oh my God, like, this is a hot mess, Dustin. I would say these mean things. Now I said, man, look at how good you look. Man, you should really be proud of yourself. You put in the effort to get this result. And so I started to just speak differently, and I decided at that moment I'm going to become a trainer and I'm going to give other people this gift. Now, in terms of why should they focus on it, it's some of the things I mentioned, like confidence, like more positive self-talk. But I mean, just life expectancy, right? Like, who wouldn't want that? Who would not want to be on this earth longer? And then the final thing is quality of life. All right. You can live, 60 to 80 years and have back pain and be tired and want to keep sleeping in and be yawning and not feel your best. Or you can have an intense zest. You can have lots of energy. You can feel amazing. You can get more done in a day because you can think clearly. You're not carrying this mental fog. So I just really say to people, hey, if you just want to have every year be the most optimized best year because we only get so many of them, then you need to be healthy to see what that is like. So that's why, Kevin, people should live the healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dustin, I also know that you're a sales expert that helps people sort of harness their sales leads by using a system and methodology you created. So I'm wondering if you could tell me all about it.
Yeah, so a lot of people feel really icky about sales because they feel like if somebody gains, then that means somebody else lost. So that means if I gain your money, there's less money in the world, or you lose, or your bank account's emptier. And so a lot of people struggle with this because they think it's a very one-sided proposition. And at that moment, I usually call out salespeople and I say, hey, if you're thinking like that, you're actually being very selfish. Because if you notice the way that they phrase things, it's with an I statement. I want to make this sale. I want to close this person. I want to earn a commission. And anytime you speak from an I statement, usually you're being very selfish and self-centered. And so instead, change that language to be about the customer. They are going to get their life changed. They are going to have a better improvement of their life quality. They are going to be so happy when they move forward with this program. And now you don't feel like this weird, sleazy salesperson when you I to them, right? But in terms of this special system that I created, I think I stumbled upon something because one of my members said something just kind of casually, but I ended up turning it into a sales process to allow people to sell even when they hate selling. And so I call it the charm sales process. And pretty much what happened is I was just on fire one day. I was just closing people left and right, another sale, another sale. And one of my team members looked at me and she said, Dustin, you're so good at closing just off of charm. You just make people smile. You make them feel good. You kind of, are very polite. You're complimentary to them. And so it's just very easy to want to buy from you because you lead with charm. And so I said, you know what? I like that word. I'm going to run with that. And so I took the word charm and I made it into a sales process. So Kevin, I'm happy to share that with you. But before I do, did you have any other questions about that? Or do you want me to dive right into this charm sales process?
Yeah, we'll dive in and then I'll follow up after you explain the system.
Okay. All right. So basically, the word charm is an acronym. So I'm going to walk you guys through it step by step. This is probably a good thing to write down. This is going to definitely help you change your business. Or if you're a team member, help you make more money, right? Salespeople can be some of the highest earning people in the workforce because they help the company grow through sales. The first one is crack a smile. That's C. So you can't get someone to buy from you if they don't like you. So you got to kind of shoot the breeze with them, crack a joke, make fun of yourself, make fun of something silly around you. Maybe it's a funny story that happened to you, but I don't move forward even talking about the program or the product until they're smiling. So step first, we got to crack a smile. That is C. Okay. Then H is how can I help? And that's just a simple reminder to start diving in and asking the person, what can I do to help you? Why are you here? Why are you here in my office? So again, in a gym, tell me about your goals. If it's, you're selling a product, why are you looking at our product? And essentially you want to go into that, how can I help? And listening, active listening. I actually like it when people take notes because that makes me feel important. And it tells me that they're engaged in what we're doing. They're not clicking around. They're not, distracted. They're not looking at their phone. They're not looking at, out the window as every person walks by. Like, be focused on that person and give them your full attention. All right. A is asking for details. So after you find out, how can I help? You want to ask for details around how they feel in that pain. So how long have you been feeling with that? Can you give me some details? How do you feel in your body right now? What areas you want to change? Can you tell me where it hurts? Can you tell me where you don't like the extra fat? And I want to switch it from the what into feelings, right? Like, what are we here for? And then how does it feel? And people don't make logical decisions when they're buying, they make emotional decisions. So this is where you're getting them a little triggered, a little emotional. And it's pretty normal, especially in our world fitness, for ladies to start breaking down at this moment, to start crying right there in front of you because they are just so upset with themselves and the way their body is. And so essentially, this is where things get really emotional. Okay, that's the A. Now, R is where you reveal your solution. All right. And so essentially, you're going to turn around and tell them about your product or service and how it's the ultimate solution that they've been looking for and how you can connect your solution to their problem. It's really important to do that. And then finally, the M in charm is make the sale. And you'd be surprised, Kevin, how people don't simply just ask for the sale when the conversation is getting to that point in the conversation. So they don't say like, hey, so this sounds great. Do you want to get started Monday? Or, hey, do you want option A or do you want option B? They kind of say really loose things like, well, let me know if you'd like to get started. Or sometimes they don't ask any questions. They just say, yeah, so this is our program. And they kind of awkwardly wait, right? So now the person feels uncomfortable. They don't know the next steps. You're literally just need to prompt them on what the next step is to move forward with your program or your offer. So that is the charm sales process. Again, to recap, crack a smile. How can I help? Ask for details, reveal your solution, and then make the sale.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dustin, just following up on that, I'm curious to ask you, how important is it to humanize yourself during the sales process and really meeting people where they are and infusing sort of the human aspect of yourself into a sales process?
Yeah, great question. Honestly, this is something I struggle with. And I don't know if it's like the guy in me that I was just very like task driven. Like, you come in, you need to lose weight. Awesome. You need to eat this, you need to work out. Let's go. And I would just get right to the details and thinking that's value. Like, let me just tell you what to do and we can get to work because that's what I value, and that's me. And I'm a type D on the disc file. So they're results driven. They're kind of like short with their words. They don't really need to know a lot of details. They just want to go. They're action orientated. So when a D meets an I, S, or C, there can be friction, and there can also be a lack of details. And so essentially, that's how I was like, okay, here's what you need to do. Let's get to work. But I have learned that I need to share my story. I need to share that I'm like them, because especially in fitness, people could put you on a pedestal and think, you're Mr. Motivated, you're Mr. Driven, you have it all figured out, and then I don't. And I have to go back and say, did you know that I was 160 pounds heavier? Did you know that I used to eat tons of crap? And I still put, junk food in my diet. It's just following the 80-20 rule. Do you know sometimes I go to the gym and I don't like it either? And so it humanizes me. They're like, oh, you're like me then. You're not what I thought you were. I thought you're always motivated. You eat perfect. You've always been healthy and fit. And when I share my struggles, then they definitely feel more connected. So I would say to any, especially guys or, again, type D driven results people, stop and really learn to tell your story. And it's just one of those things. The more reps you do, the more naturally it'll come to you when it's time to engage with somebody. But if you find yourself jumping right into tactics and you're not linking a story to it, it can really definitely help with sales.
Yeah, absolutely. And just digging into the sales process more, it's also important to solve the problems of the people that you're trying to sell to, right? In the sales process, because you're
Yeah.
always trying to add value, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so when we add value during the sales process, tell me about sort of the roadmap you go to by asking those questions, as you said, in the charm process. Is there sort of a roadmap when you're putting together a list of questions during the sales process, in your opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. I think again, they call it tripping over the truth. And so essentially what that means is you might know the truth about something and you want to lead someone there. And here's the thing, when people have an idea, or sorry, when someone else tells you what to do, right? We can think of this in a work setting. If a boss tells an employee what to do, I need you to go do this, immediately they usually feel it's very energy draining, right? Like, oh man, I got to go do this. The boss is on me. I got a deadline, man. This sucks. Here's the interesting part. When it's that person's idea, it fills them with energy. All right. And that might be our ego at play, that man, when I thought of something amazing, I'm so excited. In fact, I'm so excited, I'm going to get action on it right now. I might even do it today or tomorrow. But now the energy is coming from me because I'm excited. It's my idea. And so they say when you're trying to lead people, is maybe you have an idea of what you want them to do, but you got to move them to a place where they feel like it's more their idea than it is yours. And so that's called tripping over the truth. You lead them to it and then they trip over. And you always hear people say, oh, I stumbled upon this idea. I stumbled upon this process. Well, that's exactly what you want to do. And you can lead somebody there. So essentially the questions I like to ask is, what do you want the outcome to be? What aha moment do you want them to have at the end? And how can you reverse engineer the question so that it breadcrumbs you right to that outcome, right? So, again, my questions, Kevin, are definitely going to be a little bit more fitness driven, but you can absolutely take these and apply them to, any type of sales process, any type of, like business. But ultimately ask yourself, what is the end result? Usually it's a closed deal. And then what ahas do I got to walk them through? So just to give you the ones we use in fitness. Number one, someone sits down, welcome. I'm going to tell you my story, how I was overweight. Then I'm going to say, okay, let's turn the tables. Let's talk about you. Why are you here? What is your main goal you're trying to achieve? And let's say you share with me, you want to lose 20 pounds. All right, awesome. Second question I'd ask, how long have you been working on that goal? Is this something recent that you decided to attack, or have you been working on it for years? And let's say, oh, you know what? I've been trying to lose that weight for 5 years. I just can't get it off. Okay. What else have you tried in the past? Have you gone to the gym? Have you tried diets? Have you tried, home workout gadgets? Yep. All of the above. I've tried it all and none of it is working. All right. Interesting. Now I'll say, what do you think you need help with more? Is it workouts, nutrition, or both? And most people say both. My diet's a mess and I'm not going to the gym. And then I'll say, okay, well, let me ask you a question. Have you ever worked with a coach or a trainer before? And they'll say, no. And so here's the first tripping over the truth. All those things you asked me if I did, none of them had a trainer. I tried going to the gym. I tried the home workout gadget. I tried a diet book, but all of those I was on my own. And so the first thing I want them to trip over is you probably didn't have any support. You didn't have any accountability. You didn't have a coach. And we are a coaching facility. So that's why I want them to trip over that truth. Got it. All right. So let me ask you something. Why are you motivated now? What made you reach out to me, call me, text me? Why didn't you call me 6 months ago? And there's usually some sort of event that's triggered them. They'll say, my son walked by me and said, oh, mommy, you're gaining lots of weight. Or I went in the mirror and I couldn't do my belt. I needed to go drill another hole in it because I've gained so much weight. Or it's my 40th birthday in 6 months and I want to look banging for it, like some sort of event came up that has forced them to leap into action. I want to know what that event is because I want to know how they're motivated. And then finally I'll say, great, this is my program. This is how it'll help you with your goal. This is how it's different than everything you've tried. Would you like to move forward with this? And so now they find themselves being presented a unique opportunity, something they haven't tried. And in fitness, and I think honestly in a lot of things, novelty is a huge selling point. People want new. They want something they haven't done before. If I'm just a repeat of what they did in the past, they'll immediately think it won't work. So I've led them to trip over the truth that the coach was the missing component and that I can help them get to where they want to go by working with a coach. So that's how we use it in our sales process. And that's the truth we want them to trip over to get to a sale.
Absolutely. And Dustin, tell me, how do you think emotions in fitness and in sales are interconnected? Because we're emotional people. So tell me, how do you think emotion plays a part in fitness and in sales?
I mean, it's huge. And I think that emotional stability can be trained in the gym because at first you're like huffing and puffing. You're like, God, I'm so out of breath. This is so hard. And you're saying all these, things without knowing that, it gets better. You get more fit, you get more healthy, you get better cardio. So all you're saying to yourself is, I'm not going to be able to progress. Like this is where I'm going to be forever. I will always be out of shape. I will always be the most out of shape person in this class. And so you have to catch yourself and stop saying that. And then you also get evidence as you get more fit. You're like, hey, I'm not so out of breath as I was last week. And then 6 months goes by and you're like, man, I could do 2 of these sessions in a day. And so essentially that's what you got to build is first evidence, because at first you have no evidence to say that you're more emotionally stable. And then I think in sales as well, like you will get rejection. That can be emotionally taxing. People who quit in sales usually quit because of the high amount of objection that they get and rejection. And so if you can be emotionally stable and keep working through it, you will see huge returns as you continue to develop your skill and your craft. And honestly, you should get rejected a lot when you're getting started, and you're still going to see rejection a lot when you're a veteran. The difference is the emotional stability. The veterans tend to be more emotionally stable and they don't let a rejection bother them, while a new person could say, oh my God, I suck. I should quit doing this job. So I think the biggest thing I would, link them to is that they're both great ways to build your emotional stability. And being in the gym, getting emotionally unstable and then calming yourself down is a good way to train that skill. Business, you're going to go through crazy stuff like we did a few years ago, COVID. Can you believe it's already been 3 years ago now, this month? And all the other crazy things that will be thrown at you, unexpected bills, prices going up, labor going up. That will train you to be emotionally stable the more and more you go through those things. And then, in sales, same thing. The more you deal with rejection and you get through it and you start having like record months, you start becoming more and more emotionally stable. So I think that's the common denominator amongst them all.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dustin, I'm curious, when you hear the phrase, the art of the deal, what do you think of when that phrase comes to mind?
Yeah, I think that sales is definitely like 2 things. It is an art and it is a skill. And so essentially a skill is something you have to do lots and lots of reps and you'll get better at it. The art is the ability to read people. I can't put that in a checklist. I can't put that in a system. I can't say, read the person's face and then do these steps. Read the person's body language and then do these steps. That's something you just have to learn through instincts, through following your gut, through reading people, and through doing lots of reps. So I think first comes the skill, then comes the art for some people, and then first comes the art, and then comes the skill for other people. So good people that are really good at reading people, that's going to be the walk in the park segment, and then they're going to have to just put in a lot of reps. And then people that aren't good at reading people, they're just going to put in a lot of reps, and then eventually they'll build that skill. But yeah, I think when I hear the art of closing the deal, it's a combination of the art of your EQ and reading people's language and tonality and and really reading into what they're saying and what really is the meaning behind it. And then the skill behind it, which is just really doing reps. You got to do lots and lots of reps.
Absolutely. The more you do something, the better you get at it, right?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. And Dustin, I know that you've been an entrepreneur for about a decade and a half now. So I'm curious, what's the greatest lesson you think you've ever learned in business?
I think one of the greatest lessons I learned, many, man, where do I start? But I think the greatest lesson that I learned was to really build a big business, you have to master the art of leadership. And not very many people are going to be able to build a multi seven figure business off of their own back. Usually, if they are, they're like a celebrity, right? Like an actor can go in and make a movie and make multiple. But even then, they have coaches. They have coaches to help them get ready for a role. They have like trainers, nutritionists. But all that to say, there's not a whole lot of ways that I've seen that people can make it off on their own. Every personal celebrity, personal brand that you can think of, they all have a team behind them behind the scenes. So essentially, if you want to really build a big business, you got to get good at working with people, influencing people, getting people's opinions, getting feedback from people, working with different personality types. So I didn't know that when I got into it. I thought it was just simply delivery of service. Like, I'm just going to get into a business, and whatever I sell, we go deliver it, and we rinse and repeat. Everyone goes home at the end of the day, and we all enjoy our home life. I had a rude awakening when I got into business that you got to really understand the people side of business, and how to be a great leader. So that would be probably the biggest lesson that I'd said that I've learned over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. Business is a people business, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Fitness is huge, relationships and people business.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dustin, I know that you're a former pro wrestler and you own a couple of gyms, buddy. So tell me, how did your competitive spirit come out in the business world? And tell me about your previous life as a wrestler, my friend, and how that impacted your life.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So, little heads up, my book Reinforce Your Gym is actually dropping on Amazon this Friday. So it would be, March 24th. So I'm super about it. Reason I bring it up is that in the first chapter, Kevin, I have a whole story from my wrestling experience and how it relates to money. So I think it's really cool for everyone to hear or to read and to learn about it. But essentially, that was something that I did in high school and my early young adulthood. And it was something I dreamed of doing. And to be honest, I think there's a couple of things that made me step away. Number one, I put a timeline on myself, like a gun to my head, that if I don't have a big contract by age 28, I have to leave. And so I'm an all in or all out type of person. And that time came and I didn't have a big offer on the table. But also, my body was getting pretty beat up. And I think that I don't think I could have gone much longer. I'm a taller guy, bigger guy. And so when I got slammed and I got kicked and I got, chair shots, it really took its toll on my body. And I just knew that I couldn't stay with that for decades and decades. So one of the cool things that I like there from my time in wrestling is that it did build a lot of business muscles for me to use later on when I got into fitness. And one of them was selling tickets. Now, we were doing wrestling shows before social media. So we literally printed out a box of 5,000 flyers and we would go and put them on cars every day after work. And every month, we ran a show once a month. We would distribute an entire box of 5,000 flyers all around town. And sometimes we had, security guards chasing us and people mad at us that were putting flyers on their card, but we didn't care because we were so invested in our mission to get the word out about this show. And so that was where I learned really those hustle muscles of getting word out about something you believe in. And then later on, when I opened a gym, I believed in that. And so, yes, I made a lot of noise on social media and I emailed and I members for referrals. And everywhere I went, I wore my shirt proudly because I wanted people to know about this because I believed in it. And so that was another gift I got from my time in pro wrestling was that if you really, really believe in something, it should show through in your actions. And if you're not doing a whole lot of action, then you should really question why you're not wanting to stand on rooftops and get it out. Are you blocking your own, passion? Are you not as passionate about this as you thought? Maybe you said yes to the paycheck, not to the passion. Really good questions to ask, because if you really believe in something and you love it, you should be shouting it out from the rooftops. And I tell people, most most people can do this easily for a restaurant or a Netflix series. Like right now, everyone's telling me The Last of Us, The Last of Us. You got to watch The Last of Us, and you know it's amazing. And like I'm like, man, you're really passionate about this series. Are you passionate the same way about your job? Are you passionate about the way that you service your customers? If you're not, then something's wrong, right? And so again, it got me passion and to never leave anything on the table. Every match I had, I went all out. If it was a crowd of 13 people or 1,000 people, I went all out. And I do that in my businesses to this day. So many lessons to be learned, but that's something that I can share with you right now,
Yeah,
Kevin.
yeah, absolutely. I always tell people that we make time for the things that we prioritize, right?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And Dustin, I'm curious to ask you, as a gym owner yourself, how do you think the pandemic has affected the ability or the willingness and desire of people to return to the gym versus working out at home in their own home-based gym system? So how do you think the gym industry is doing after COVID?
Yeah, I definitely think it's bounced back for the most part. I mean, again, 3 years now, like I don't think anybody can really lean on that as an excuse anymore, and unfortunately there's gonna people are gonna probably bring it up for 5 or 10 years and say, man, we were doing it until the pandemic. There's always going to be a crisis. They say if you look back over our history, about every 5 to 7 years, there's some sort of global issue, and so you have the marketing crash. If you're in the US, the market crashed in 2008. Then before that, there was 9/11. Before that, computers are going to crash, Y2K. And then you got Desert Storm. It keeps going back about every 5 or 7 years. So I really don't think people should keep focusing on that. Instead, they should ask themselves, what am I doing for the next one? Because there will be another, and start getting your house in order so that you don't feel as under attack. But yeah, I think again, it hit our industry very hard. And I think that, government really pulled us, and I think food, I would say, were the top two industries. They were even labeling gyms as super spreaders, which is ridiculous because all you do in the gym is you pick things up with your hands. And then, restaurants putting forks in their mouths. Like I think that's a little bit more dangerous. But essentially, at the end of the day, no evidence could be brought that the super spreading was happening. And I think again, things got blown out of proportion. So I'm confident to say that gyms in the fitness industry are bouncing back. And I'm seeing it in more fitness facilities opening doors, more fitness facilities getting their record amount of members. It did clean out a lot of people, and I think it was the people that were ready to tap out. They were ready to close their gym, or they were just not prepared for a big hit, and it just came. And so I think again, we're gonna grow out of it stronger.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dustin, I'm curious to ask you, for yourself personally, how do you define personal happiness and fulfillment?
Yeah, I think it's really spending time working on something that you love. I believe that work is holy. And I think that essentially, if you are putting your energy into something that you love every single day, that to me is a blessing, because there's so many people who would honestly they would kill for a job. There's a lot of countries that are developing countries or third world countries where, man, to get what we have in the US, they would do anything for it. We saw not that long ago when people were jumping on planes in the Middle East, hoping they can grip onto it the whole way because they so badly did not want to live where they lived, and they fell to their death, which was tragic. And I often say that, hey, we live in the greatest country in the world, the United States. And I think that if you are in a free country where you have the right to make an amazing living doing what you love, that to me is the ultimate success. And so, yes, working every day on your passion, and being able to do work, which is, in my opinion, holy. That to me is when you've made it.
Yeah, 100%, Dustin. And, March is particularly meaningful to me, buddy, because March is National Disability Awareness Month. And I was born with what's called spastic quadriplegia cerebral palsy. That simply means that I don't have enough oxygen in my legs to walk normally. And, buddy, I found out from a doctor after my last surgery for my disability that I wouldn't be able to walk for the rest of my life without assistance, but I always make fitness a priority. In fact, one of the mottos that I live my life by is always active. So I'm curious to ask you about how can we make fitness and business more inclusive for folks with disabilities, and how important do you think it is to observe a month like this just to celebrate the contributions of individuals with disabilities?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kevin, and thank you for sharing your story and being vulnerable. And I think it really comes down to people like you and others stepping up and being leaders for the community. And I've seen multiple communities step forward and do that in fitness. There was a time long ago that ladies were afraid of the gym, and they even sectioned off a special area just for them. They're like, oh, that's the ladies area. And it was all the machines, and the guys had all the free weights. And it wasn't until recent time, probably the last 20 years, you see lots of ladies wanting to touch the strength equipment and focusing on getting strong and seeing the results that it creates in their body. And it's awesome. But it took a few courageous ladies to step up and start doing that. And so I would just say, get into the gyms and document it and show it and lead from the front and get other people to come into the gym or staying active, because they mentally might not feel like they're able to. And so they need to see it. I think we're all very strong visual learners. So when I see a video, I see a photo, I see someone doing something that looks like me, it inspires me to want to do the same. So I think that's really the best way we can do it. And then, of course, gyms can be offering programs for them as well. And so essentially, I think it's just about awareness and really leading from the front. I had a gentleman that was paralyzed from the waist down, and we run 30-minute boot camp sessions in addition to personal training. And he could only use his arms, right? He showed up every day. And I think in the first 2 weeks, he dropped 12 pounds. And we modified all the stations for him. So he only had to do dumbbells and battle ropes when everybody else might be doing squats and deadlifts. And all we asked was that he showed up. We said, if you can do that, we'll meet you halfway and we'll modify the workout to your capabilities. And so it was amazing. And he got great results. And that's not, who we normally work with. So I'd say, again, it took him showing up. And that's the first step to create change.
Yeah, diversity of perspective is important, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And Dustin, March is also Women's History Month, and you touched on it briefly in your last answer, but I'm curious to ask you, what does the occasion of Women's History Month mean to you, and why do you think it's important to acknowledge the contributions of women in societal life and fitness as well?
Yeah, great question. I mean, women, they really represent a huge, impact in my life. From my mom, who I learned my work ethic from, to my wife, who is my partner in crime in business and supports me in so many ways and has picked me up sometimes when I'm feeling down on myself or picking myself apart, to my daughter, who really lights up my day with her smile and her amazing sense of humor. And so those are just some of the women that have impacted my life. We have female coaches of the team that are very inspirational. We have women that show up. In fact, I'd say 89% of the clients who train in our facility are women. And so I'm very much, connected to that community. And I would say that, essentially what it comes down to is really celebrating the big progress they made, right? From being able to vote to stepping into, the weight section in the gyms, to really going out and dominating even in the business sector. You see more and more female CEOs, coming into the business industry. So it's really cool to see the progress for them. But essentially, I'm very passionate about helping moms out at with fitness, because I believe that number one, it's really sad to see, but we're trending towards 50% obesity by the year 2030. So if we don't make any changes, North America will reach 50% obesity by 2030, and it is not far away. So we got to do something about this. We got a major problem on our hands. In fact, the back of the book, I say we are at war with obesity, because we are. And to me, gyms are forward operating bases in this war. Now, the reason that I choose to wage my war with moms is not because I'm attacking them, but because I want to help them. They are the nucleus to the household. When mom gets healthy, she gets everybody in the household healthy as well as a byproduct. She usually starts making the kids eat healthier. She makes her spouse get healthier. And it's just because everyone has to stop eating junk and eat healthier, because mom's doing it. Mom's usually the person who dictates what we're eating. And so if she's making healthier choices, she will force everybody else to get on board. And then now the whole family's healthy. So our mission statement at my gyms, that's called Lead the Way Fitness, is to create healthy families for future generations. And so, yes, we're impacting the people who are here today, but we know if we do it the right way, we can impact the people of tomorrow as well. And that's what gets us fired up. So that's, again, how we are contributing to that, and helping the ladies in our facility and with our coaching programs.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dustin, for the people watching this, they can see a whole bunch of books behind you, buddy. So tell me, why is it important for you to be updated on books and reading in particular? Why is reading so important to you, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, I've been an avid reader for many years now. I think going on 12 years, 13. No, actually, I'm lying. 15 years now. I forgot how far away or how long ago I started. For 15 years, I've been an avid reader, and it's just one of my favorite ways to consume information and to get inside the head of somebody who is an expert in their field in a very short amount of time, in a very low budget, like cost friendly way, right? Like a book could be $10 to $20, and you're going to get somebody's life work, and you can ponder on it, you can highlight it, you can revisit it. Usually every year I at least revisit 3 or 4 of my favorite books. And so it's just a great way to transfer knowledge to yourself. And you don't got to go and sit in a classroom and sign up for a whole university and all this type of stuff. And I think also it gives you the freedom to choose the topics you're most interested in. I think the reason most people are resistant to reading in high school and college, etc., is because it's forced reading. Like you are all required to read this book and write a book report on it. Where when you get into self-development, you pretty much have control over what you want to learn about. And guess what? Now you put money in, and you put skin in the game, and then you finish the book because you're actually interested in the topic. So I really encourage people to read. Even my son, like if I get him to read a comic book or a graphic novel, he's reading something and it's going to expand his vocabulary. It's helping him concentrate. I think, again, another benefit of books is that it is a rep of concentration, of focus, that, your mind wants to start wandering to your to-do list and you got to pull it back to the page. And so every time you read a book, every page you read, you're telling yourself, I'm a disciplined person. I'm a focused person. So again, those are just a few of the benefits from reading. And this, by the way, Kevin, isn't the 100 books I have on my Audible either. This is just the physical copies that I own. So there's way more.
Well, I always say life is a constant game of learning, and as soon as you stop learning is the day you die, because it doesn't matter how many degrees you have or how smart you think you are. You can always learn something from somebody else, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. Dustin, one final fitness question before I get to my last question for you, buddy, because I believe that if you prioritize your fitness, there are also more positive benefits for your overall quality of life. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in terms of improving your quality of life. How do you think prioritizing fitness can help us do that?
Yeah, I mean, it really just comes down to, you going to war with yourself in the gym. When you do that, you essentially get to like improve your mental and physical strength and resilience. And so life is hard. It's going to throw a lot of challenging things at you, and the more resilient you can be, the better equipped and the more you won't feel, like bothered and shaken by it. So essentially, I think it's the ultimate place to go to build resilience is in the gym. And so that is the number one reason people should want to go in there. And again, set aside the weight loss and the muscle building. Even if my body didn't change at all, I would still want to go in just to build mental strength and resilience.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dustin, my final question for you has to do with your own personal and professional legacy, my friend, and how you want that to be defined.
I would like to be I would like to have that legacy defined as somebody who always gave 100% and would always take the time to talk with somebody, and just made the world a better place. If that's, the words that are said about me, then I did the right things, made the right decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dustin, finally tell me if people want to get connected with the good work that you do, my friend, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, Instagram and Facebook is where I'm most active. Just search Dustin Bogle. And if you want to learn some amazing marketing, sales, and leadership tactics, order my book, Reinforce Your Gym. It will be out March 24th, 2023. So would love to get that in your hands so you can continue to learn more.
Fantastic. Well, Dustin, I really want to thank you for your commitment to making the world a healthier, and better place, buddy. I want to wish you the best of luck with the book, and I want to thank you for engaging in conversation with me this afternoon. It's most appreciated.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate you, and best of luck to your listeners.